Good afternoon and welcome. I am your announcer on the Wave Your Grades Motivational Talk program, featuring American students dedicating academic excellence to American veterans and featuring American veterans. Thanking our students, I am so sorry, thanking our students for being serious about their education. Your Wave Your Grades program is brought to you by the Norman Group. For more information on becoming a partner or learning how to bridge the five wealth gaps, please contact Willie Norman at wnorman, the number 2 at att.net, or you may reach him by phone at 816-525-8708. Again, 816-525-8708. Now, with today's very special guest, here is our Wave Your Grades host, civilian Mid-America Hall of Fame educator, Carl Boyd.
Thank you so very much. And that announcement came from, indeed, announcer DeQuay Wilson. DeQuay is our producer, announcer, co-host, and engineer on Wave Your Grades Saturdays from 1 until 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. I emphasize that because today's guest is coming to us from Eastern Standard 2 o'clock because she happens to be in Atlanta, Georgia. Before we make that introduction, we want to thank you for listening to KUAW, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom. We always want to extend our condolences to those who have succumbed to the pandemic. We want to always offer the cautions of following the science, wearing your masks, exercising social distance, certainly taking care of hygiene, and remembering that this is serious. So if we talk about it less because you hear about it so much, speaking of it less does not lessen the importance of observing the science and the rules of dealing with this pandemic. Wave Your Grades, in fact, is dedicated to our veterans, to those who are in the military, asking American students to strive for excellence in honor of our troops. And if anyone knows this as well as any guest we have had, it is Sister Lillian Batey, formerly from Kansas City, Kansas, now residing in Atlanta, Georgia. She is with us this afternoon, so let me say, welcome, Lillian Batey. Thank you for being with us.
For excellence in honor of our troops.
And welcome to you as well. And I thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to be a guest on your radio program on today. First, giving honor to God and my Heavenly Father for just allowing me the opportunity to have a vision to be able to share through the airways. And I thank you, my mentor, one of my spiritual fathers and long-term supporters, Mr. KUAW.
You are very, very kind, and my understanding or my suspicion is that some more who are on your board of directors, along with my honor to serve therein as well. So I want to extend a welcome to those you have invited to listen to us this afternoon.
Yes, and again, I do want to thank God for allowing me to fulfill another vision that I had desired at the beginning of the year, which was to complete my board of directors. And I thank God for Mr. Thomas Jones, which is our treasurer, Ms. Wileen Crowder Brewer, who is my spiritual mother and one of our prayer warriors and visionaries, my sister, Sister Charlotte C. Farrell, all the way in Canada, Mother Gladys Smith, Mother Mary Thomas, Miss Tamika Owens, and my daughter, Sane Batey, who has been doing a lot of our internet services, as well as my new web designer, Mr. Tyler Thomas.
Well, I was very happy to hear you mention Sane Batey, and the reason is because I would like to start with an introduction of Lillian Batey, Kansas City, Kansas. And when I think, of course, about Sane, I think about the Generation Rap Youth Advisory Council, of which she was a part when she was a teenager. But please, Lillian Batey, our very special guest on Wave Your Grades this afternoon, give us some Kansas City, Kansas background on your life and times in this neighborhood.
All right. Well, to begin with, I was born and raised right on 4th and Quindaro, which is the heart of the inner city in Kansas City, Kansas. Raised by two parents, Mr. Vern and Al Jean Burleson. Attended school at Killing, Stowe, Northeast and Sumner High School, on to Donnelly College, and specializing in early childhood education because my heart and desire has always been to find some kind of way to help our children. I went from becoming a foster, a big sister with big brothers and sisters, with a young lady by the name of Yolanda Brockman, who lives there in Kansas City, on to becoming or working at a number of different organizations there in Kansas City, Kansas, Parks and Recreation Department, a women's violence program, the Ad Hoc Group Against Crime, and each time that God placed me in a position, He allowed me to continue to gain knowledge and wisdom and more understanding as to how to help our children. In 1993, shortly after losing my mother to ovarian cancer in May, God laid on my heart to begin an organization, or basically I thought it was just going to be a summer camp program, which began at the Chelsea Coalition at 29th and Wood and continued on for 11 years, becoming an alternative school program, a tutorial assistance program operating from Chelsea Coalition to Kensington Park to Parkwood Park. And the main purpose at that time was to be able to rescue children who were being suspended from school, had nowhere to go, ended up in trouble with the law, incarcerated, and sometimes even dead, providing an educational outing for them in hopes that they would continue to express an interest in their education until they were able to graduate and go on to a successful life.
Now, the interesting thing about that for me is you started out helping us to understand that your chief motivator is God the Father. You make that very clear. And you also mentioned that you have a passion for working with young people. But beyond that inner passion and your educational orientation where young people are concerned, is there anything in particular that motivated and continues to motivate Lillian Batey towards working with young people from preschool through adolescence to teens? Anything in particular that orients you in that direction?
Well, my greatest motivator was my own child, Sane Batey, who was born, came into the world premature, 4 pounds, 14 and a half ounces, and continued to fight through a number of different medical challenges.
Oh, okay.
So eventually attending school at Arrowhead and becoming a victim of bullying. And that was the thing that I guess that caused me to rise up and be determined to be able to fight for not just other people's children, but my own child. So because of her becoming a victim, I became, I guess, an advocate and I guess sort of crazy, standing up for the rights of children in and out of school, and especially starting with my own child.
Well, whatever it was that you did, please, when I suggest that you should feel proud, I don't mean pride in its crudest form. I'm talking about being able to say that you have a daughter who is the essence of what success looks like. Had you not shared that story, no one who knows her today would ever guess that she had been victimized by bullies, because she is so self-assured. She is absolutely so efficient, and as a matter of fact, I know nationally, but I don't know beyond the United States of America, but she does carry on her teaching in social media and beyond. Tell us a little bit about what Sane is doing now.
All right. Well, first of all, she's about to celebrate her 41st birthday on
Ooh,
9/9/2020.
how did that happen? You and I are 50. No, you're younger than I am. I won't put that on you. You're 45 and I'm 55. And children, Wanda and I don't have biological children, but we watch young people like your daughter grow up, and my goodness. But please tell us more about Sine Bate.
No comment on that issue. I have had the pleasure of being able to observe my daughter going from having an interest in becoming a veterinarian to eventually taking an interest in information technology. And that came about after we received a grant from the Environmental Protection Agency in Kansas City, Kansas, to do a water monitoring project many years ago. And the funding we received allowed me to pay a stipend to 10 youth that came in and collected samples of water, ran tests on it, and they had to make a presentation back to EPA. In the process, me having no idea what it meant to do a water monitoring project and sampling and using different types of chemicals to test the quality, had to reach out to a lady by the name of Kathy Cohen, who worked for EPA, and she would come to the center at the Parkwood Park and give instructions to the children, and she saw in my daughter that a need to change her interest from a veterinarian to IT, and I'm sure now that she is very glad that she did, because I have seen this child build her own organization called Trinigam Technology Services, where she is now traveling around the country.
Yes.
Getting contracts and helping everybody with all types of things related to computers.
Well, when I think about Lillian Bate, Kansas City, Kansas, and approaching the Christmas holidays and things that you did for young people back in the day, and then look ahead to now, not only are you again proud of Sine Bate, but the many young people with whom you have worked. How did you come upon the name Sojourner Truth for your organization?
It came about back in 1984 when I was going through my final session at Spelman College. I was operating a 24-hour registered family daycare home. Had about 25 kids coming around the clock, which was how I paid my way through Spelman. And my neighbors filed a complaint to close me down for no apparent reason other than the fact they couldn't understand how I was able to sit at home and make the same amount of money that they were having to get up and go out to work. Long story short, I had to prepare a letter of intent and go before the Fulton County Board of Commissioners to state my reason for operating. And it was at that time I met a gentleman by the name of A. Reginald Eve, who, while sitting on that platform, gave me a confirmation not to worry, that everything was going to be all right. And during the first hearing, there were enough people that showed up in opposition where they were about to vote me down the first time. But he asked them to table the discussion and allow time for all of the people on the board, which were all men, to do more research as to the number of daycare homes that were operating in Fulton County. And at that time, it was approximately 781 registered homes in Fulton County alone. It also taught me a lesson of how important voting became, because what they did is they looked at the number of homes, multiplied that times 6, and they weighed their options as to how many supporters they would gain or lose based on the number of homes that were registered.
Wow.
And because they could see more people standing in front of them in opposition than more children that were in need of services. The second time around, they voted me down. It broke my heart, but I got on the elevator with some of the same people who had voted against me. I smiled at them and said, I hope they're happy now. And I came home, got on the phone, called back downtown to the Fulton County Commission office and asked to speak to Commissioner East. And what I said to him was, I thank you for your support, but until they can find fault with the type of care that I am providing to the children, I will be here until they arrest me. The
My
only
goodness.
thing I ask is, sir?
No, please go right ahead. I was saying, my goodness, this is as long as we've known each other, this is the first time I've heard this story. This is very intriguing, but please go ahead.
Yeah, and I said to him, the only thing I ask is when they come, that they bring a paddy wagon large enough to accommodate me and the children, because I refuse to be separated from them until their parents got there to retrieve their own children. And at that time, he told me that I reminded him of a woman by the name of Sojourner Truth. I had no idea who he was referring to at that time, because I guess I hadn't done enough of my history other than hearing her name. But it forced me to do research and to find out who was this woman that he was comparing me to. And when I began to read the story about Sojourner Truth's life, I found out that she was a former slave who had been freed. She was also probably one of the first women that we don't hear about today who was fighting for the right for women to have the right to vote. And she would go around from place to place advocating on that behalf. Well, once Sojourner was freed, she had 3 children, 2 girls and a boy, and she took her children to a lady to take care of them so she could go out and work and raise enough money to buy a home for her family. And when she returned back, she found that her son had been taken away from this lady and sold back into slavery. And even without an education, Sojourner Truth found a way to advocate and to be able to fight to regain custody of her son. And that's when I began to understand the connection between why he compared me to a woman of such magnitude, because I too was fighting to keep them from taking my children away at that time.
Well, as I thank you for that response, let me remind those who are listening that this is Wave Your Grades on KUAW.org. Your announcer is DeQuay Wilson. I am your host, Carl Boyd. We have a very special guest today. The voice that you have been hearing is that of Lillian Batey, formerly of Kansas City, Kansas, now residing in Georgia. Lillian, I have been saying Atlanta, but exactly where are you in Georgia?
In a place that people probably have never heard of called Snellville, Georgia.
Okay.
And I love it here.
Okay, and let me say this. I have the occasion each week to thank KUAW.org, to thank Louis George Walker, founder of KUAW.org. We're housed at the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. Today, one of the reasons that it is so good to have the opportunity to be on KUAW is because when I asked the question about from where you got the name Sojourner Truth for your organization, the 3 things that you had time to do, opportunity to do on this particular outlet was 1, to talk about Sojourner Truth, the person that is so important from an historical perspective. 2, to remind people in this time during the trials that we find ourselves confronting and talking about the vote, reminding people of Sojourner Truth's role therein. And then thirdly, to think in terms of Lillian Batey, who was threatening to allow herself to be arrested, as we revisit our relationship with police, community, law and order, all of those kinds of things wrapped up into that one answer that we could not have dared to approach on another outlet. But thankfully, KUAW.org allows for this kind of conversation, reminding all who are listening once again, you're hearing from Lillian Batey. Lillian Batey, the reason I mentioned Sojourner Truth is because now you can tell us about the present Sojourner Truth organization there in Georgia and what you are doing now.
I thank you so much, Carl, but I cannot do that without telling a little bit more about the roots of how Sojourner Truth became known in Kansas City.
Please do.
Shortly after I said I lost my mother to ovarian cancer, I felt a missing spot in my heart that needed to be fulfilled. And I began with the Christmas parties, which later became Christmas on Quindale, serving foster, needy, and homeless children for about 11 years. When we left Kansas City in 2002, we had approximately 200 sponsors that looked forward to that event. But that was only because when I first moved back and no one knew who I was, but I knew what God had called me to do was to continue doing what I was doing in Connecticut and before here in Georgia, we're dealing with foster children, daycare children, substitute teaching. I was trying to get the word out, and I went to a radio station, KPRS at the time, in which you were formerly a host on that radio station.
Yes.
And I was doing a presentation somewhere, and the gentleman asked me if there was anything else he could do to help me. And I said I would love to be able to be on the show of a man by the name of KUAW. And he said, I think I could arrange that. 3 days later, I received a call from this man named KUAW, and this was back in 1993.
Wow. Yes, indeed.
They said, hello, my name is KUAW. I understand you would like to be on my radio show. Can you be at the station on Saturday? And it was history ever since then.
Well,
and I thank God for you.
You flatter me. I thank you so much. But just like today, DeQuay Wilson, Lewis, George Walker, and I would have you to understand how important guests are. And you don't have a program that has credibility if you do not have credible guests. And what you were doing at that time was so important that it flattered whatever efforts that I had. And I was happy to learn about that and then even participate a couple of times and see how wonderful that work was. And if we allow ourselves to go from there to once again, and by the way, Lillian, when you respond this time, give the whole name of the association I have the privilege of being a board member of, and how you would define current purpose.
Yes, sir. The organization is entitled the Sojourner Truth Observational Study Home Motel Incorporated. It is located now here in Atlanta, Georgia. You can reach me by contacting 770-572-8995, or you can go to our website, www.iamsojourner.org. You can also email us at takeoverlearning@gmail.com, because that's exactly what we are in the process of doing at this time. Mr. Boyd continues to allude to what we're doing here in Atlanta, but I have to say, since returning back in 2002, I have continued to put programs together here for children in housing complexes and after-school programs in low-income communities. But 8 years ago, God gave me a new vision, which was to take my program on the road by way of a mobile academic program. So for the past 8 years, I've been praying and asking God how to do that. And what I saw as my vision was to be able to get access to an RV and convert it into a mobile classroom complete with 12 computers and to be able to ride into neighborhoods where children did not have access to computers and internet services to be able to work with them. Little did I know that 8 years later, this is what everyone is having to do
Yes.
by way of sheltering in place and doing sedentary work.
The interesting thing about that is it makes you appear prophetic, and certainly God is good. But now, when we talk about distance learning, and when we are talking about how young people are having to learn now because of the pandemic, in a real sense, you were ahead of our time. So,
Yes, sir.
and as it relates to those who, if they should call, and let me see if that if this is 770-352-8995.
572.
572-8995. That is 770-572-8995.
Yes, sir.
770-572-8995. If parents were to contact you because they have an interest in their children becoming a part, what is the age range to whom you cater?
And I'm glad you asked that question because we are now reaching out to children from pre-K through 5th grade primarily because that is what my teaching certificate is basically covers. However, we have teachers that are able to work with children all the way through to 12th grade. We are, for any parents that are struggling right now, which I know a lot of you are, you can go to the website, as I mentioned earlier, at www.imsojourner.org to register, or you can contact me directly. You can also send an email to takeoverlearning@gmail.com. And once you register your child, I will send you a link to our Zoom app where you will be able to join us daily on Zoom between 9 to 2 a.m. each day to cover basic subjects such as reading and language arts, math, science, and social studies. And we're also going to throw in a little bit of that Black history, which a lot of our children are lacking.
We want to thank you so much for that. We're going to revisit that after we take a very brief break, because we definitely want to talk about what you are doing during this pandemic, how it affects your community. Right now, allow us, please, to go to this break with your announcer, DeQuay Wilson.
Wave Your Grades will return after a brief announcement from our sponsor. Wave Your Grades is brought to you by the Norman Group. For more information on becoming a partner or learning to bridge the 5 wealth gaps, please contact Willie Norman. You may reach him by email at wnorman2@att.net, or you may reach him by phone at 816-525-8708. Again, that's wnorman2@att.net, or 816-525-8708. We are back with Wave Your Grades. I am your announcer, DeQuay Wilson. Here again with our special guest is Carl Boyd.
Thank you very much, DeQuay Wilson. And during the second half of the broadcast, DeQuay may very well chime in, ask questions, make comments of our very special guest, Lillian Batey. And as we talk about how young people are learning, when the young people come to Sojourner Truth, how is it determined that the subject matter they are studying is compatible with what their requirements are in their regular schools?
Well, first of all, we are reviewing the state standards for the state of Georgia, which is supposed to be consistent across the board. We are utilizing a number of educational programs such as education.com to be able to do an assessment, a pre-assessment on every child to determine where they are at the time they begin, as well as a post-test after they have completed their sessions. and we will be using a number of those programs in conjunction with the work that a lot of the children are receiving. It's my understanding that I know for a fact, there are a number of children that still don't have access to computers and internet services. So they're getting worksheets to be able to complete, which a lot of parents still do not understand how to work with their child or help their child to complete those worksheets. One example in particular is there are a lot of international children here in Georgia and all across the country whose parents don't even speak English. So they are in need of interpreters as well to be able to explain what the teacher is teaching online at this time.
Lillian Batey, in as much as we get an opportunity as board members to feel real good about volunteers, about people who make contributions in Georgia, how can those of us who are in the Kansas City area or anywhere else for that matter support what is being done?
I thank you again for that very important question, because one way that you can support us is to go to our website to make a donation. You can also send your cash app to $STOSH, which is the abbreviation for the Sojourner Truth Observational Study Home Hotel Incorporated. It's STOSH LLC, which is our cash app handle. You can also mail a donation to 4959 Great Meadows Road. That's Latonia, Georgia, which is our home base, at 30038.
Now we are certainly going to have you repeat that so
Yes.
that those who are listening might have an opportunity to jot that down. And
Yes.
then I have a follow-up question for you as it refers to support. But please, once again, support opportunities.
Okay. And I've also failed to mention we did a Giving Tuesday about a month ago, and the majority of our sponsors came out of Kansas City, which were my classmates from the Sumner High School class of 1974. And with just 8 sponsors, we raised about $800 in one day.
Outstanding.
So we already have a few sponsors there, but we could always use some more.
Absolutely. Okay, that's very good to know, so that those who are in our area are aware and are supportive. That is so good. Please give contact information again.
Yes, you can go to our website at www.iamsojourner.org to make your donation. You can also send it by way of Cash App at $STOSH, STOSH LLC. You can also use PayPal, as well as we are in the process of launching another Giving Tuesday. And you can mail it to our home address at 4959 Great Meadows Road. That's GREAT Meadows, MEADOWS Road, Latonia. That's LICHONIA, Georgia, 30038. And if all else fails, you can give me a call and I'll come and pick it up at 770-572-8995. Although I may have to fly to Kansas City to get it.
That's a great thought. Now, as we think about those parents who avail themselves of services, you have mentioned that in some cases there may be supplies and equipment that many people do not have. There are some differences where socioeconomic levels are concerned. but from a more socio-psychological standpoint, how are parents, by the way, and their children expressing their needs in terms of having to adjust to different forms of learning?
Well, Carl, I have been getting calls from teachers as early as last Saturday, a week ago. School was scheduled to begin here in DeKalb County on this past Monday, and there were teachers asking if I knew how they could get computers for their children because there was a backlog. So I
Mm-hmm.
explained to them that by the grace of God, we have had a number of sponsors such as Snap and Show's Electric Trust, DNR Painting, Matthews Children's Foundation that have provided donations for enough for us to have at least a dozen computers, which we are going to be housing on our brand new bus. We have a 22 passenger bus that is supposed to be riding into these neighborhoods where children will be able to utilize those computers as well as a internet and a hotspot to assist them with doing their work. And for those that I might not be able to reach, I am determined that I'm going to continue to keep writing grants and trying to find sponsors to purchase computers for those children because that is the key thing that basically helped this organization to grow since 1993 when I walked in the Chelsea Coalition and found Miss Flunder had gotten a donation of IBM computers that were kind of sitting on the corner collecting dust, and I found a way with the help of one of my classmates, Carol Graham, and a friend of hers to get those computers up and running. And that became the brain of this organization. So we have always had access to computers, and I want to ensure that more children will be able to get access, especially in Kansas City, which is home for me, as well as here in Atlanta, Georgia, and wherever else there's a need. My sister is also listening out of Canada, and I'm sure that she knows the children there in Canada that may need access to computers. And those of you that are listening anywhere around the world, we would love to be able to help you as well as your child to get the things that you need to be able to be comfortable and for our children to be able to prosper.
Wow, this is so, so good. And there ought to be ways that you can partner with or avail yourself of the knowledge, understanding, and wisdom of the Black Family Technology Awareness Association right here in Kansas City, Missouri, because, again, Louis George Walker, the Black Family Technology Awareness Association, was addressing the digital divide before it even enjoyed that nomenclature. They've been around, they've been in it for a while, and we on this station, in fact, are using part of the technology that is allowing us to communicate with you. So, as a board member, I'll make sure that you get contact information for BFTAA as well.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Now, you know what occurred to me? Sister Lillian Batey, I started the program and I said Atlanta, Georgia. And I have not addressed what we have begun to refer to as the elephant in the room, the rhinoceros in the nursery, the alligator in the alley, the goat in the garage. I'm talking about Atlanta, Georgia, and I have not asked someone who knows what the climate is as it relates to being able to deliver education in Atlanta, the relationship that you have indicated that you enjoy with educators, with all the stuff that's going on, without being too political. How would you define or describe what's going on in Atlanta?
Well, Carl, I know you've heard me say it many times before now that our education system is broken, and it has been broken for some time, which makes it hard for me to be able to sign a contract, even as a certified teacher, to operate under a broken system. So I have chosen for the last, 5 years now, to basically substitute so that I could go around to different areas and see the difference in the educational levels and expectations and equipment that they have in the different schools. And right now, I just want to send a prayer out to our teachers, number one, who have been doing an outstanding job of
Yes.
trying to teach the children, even lacking the skills, equipment that is needed and necessary for the children. At the present time, we are dealing with some school systems that have decided to go total virtual, some that are going part virtual, and some that are going, I guess, whatever they call it,
Well,
2 or 3 days a week.
hybrid.
Hybrid, I'm sorry. I
Hmm.
couldn't think of the word.
That's all right.
And the teachers are just really hysterical, and I can't blame them because one particular school system here in Georgia, which was, I believe, Polk County, sent their kids back to school, and on the very first day, all you saw was crowds of kids in a middle school with no mask on, no social distancing, and they got upset because a young lady took a picture of it and
Yes.
posted it, and they
Yes.
suspended her, which I wanted to go to bat for her because she was in the right. But as a result, within one day, I don't remember how many cases they had, but they had to literally shut the school down, disinfect it, and a number of teachers and staff and students both had to go into quarantine. So I have been saying since the beginning of the pandemic that the children would not be going back to school, but somebody, I don't know who, came up with this bright idea that they needed to, even though they still haven't found a cure or a cause or a source of where this pandemic began.
Well, this gives a very good opportunity for Lillian Batey to reassure the parents who would become a part of your program to understand that the essence of precaution is taken as it relates to being involved with this program.
Okay, and I once again I have to thank God for allowing me to shelter in place as He began to speak to my heart again and share
Mm-hmm.
how this program is supposed to operate. And this is what I consider it as my new 2020 vision, which we now have entitled our program or school, the Stock Entertainment Campus. And it is a virtual and mobile academic program that will be used as to house our mobile academic program that will provide educational support services and tutorial assistance instructions. We had said to 22 children, but I know that there's more children out there. Classes were scheduled to go live this past Monday, and we are also planning to travel into certain areas that we feel safe to be able to reach the children who have access to the computers out and around the bus or from their home locations. We are going to be operating from 9 to 2 a.m. And for any parent that would like to receive services, the price would only be $20 for one day or $100 for a week. You will be able to get access to the programs that we're using and assistance with helping your children throughout those particular hours. And I know that we're on different time frames all around the world right now. So I'm also recruiting teachers in other areas that will be able to be on board 24/7
Now,
for children in need.
give those hours again, please.
The basic hours here in Atlanta we're going from 9 to 2.
Now,
Where they can log on
yeah.
in the morning or at any time throughout those hours to receive assistance with either one subject or all subjects that the child may be in need of assistance.
Now, forgive my 78-year-old ears. I thought I heard 9 until 2 a.m. It's 9 a.m.
2
until.
p.m. 9 a.m. I'm sorry, until 2 p.m.
Okay, all right, 9 a.m. until
But
2 p.m.
yes, but I also mentioned that I know that we are on different time frames.
Absolutely.
So I am locating other retired teachers or certified teachers that are interested in or not interested in going back into the classroom
Mm-hmm.
to assist us with reaching children in other hours or other time frames as well. And I do have 2 already that have agreed to work with me right out of Kansas City. Mr. Robert Ewing and Miss Clark, who is a retired teacher, and she is very interested in assisting children in the area of science. My priority is reading because I feel like if a child is unable to read, they won't be able to do anything else. And I think Mr. Ewing wants to focus on math and Black history. So we're looking for one more person to cover the social studies component.
This is so good. And Lillian, if I did not mention it, I think I did. We broadcast from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center here in Kansas City, Missouri. And I think you might be familiar enough with the W.E.B. Du Bois to know that it started in the 1970s, I think about 1977, so that parents can look forward to, during the regular school year, after school classes. They can look forward to summer classes. As you talk about current hours, if school districts return to something that looks like normalcy, will you continue to operate, for instance, in an after-school and or weekend program?
Most definitely, Carl, because,
Mm-hmm.
that has been the heart of this whole organization
Yes.
was after school and summer camp programs and community events. But I also have to ask God to forgive me for an oversight. When I first began this organization and I was still working at the Ad Hoc Group Against Crime, I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Bill Grace, who was over the Du Bois Learning Center. And he kind of coached me
Oh.
from the start about not getting too involved with the school district. And I guess I was kind of hard-headed and didn't listen, and I had to learn my lesson through his advice or not following his advice, to know that with the grace of God and the support, we don't need to be connected to a system. So I thank him for having an input in my life, as well as a number of people that came through the Du Bois Learning Center while I was still in Kansas City.
Very good, because one of the things that is so important, even as we project what we would like to do in our community, is the second principle of the Nguzo Saba, which is Kuji Chagalia, that means self-determination. And one of the reasons that self-determination is so critical is because institutions like the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center can teach history to our children that is not traditional, but that is absolutely critical, and learning from that, they do better in the mainstream subject areas anyway. And I am hearing a sense of self-determination with Sojourner Truth as well. So I can really, really thank you for continuing in that tradition. We're coming close to the end of the hour. I want to make sure that you say what you needed to say when we came on.
I'm sorry, my speaker went out.
Okay. I'll repeat my question, and can you hear me now? Uh-oh. Perhaps not.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry, my speaker went out for a second.
As a matter of fact, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. Very good. I want to make sure that we don't end the hour without giving you an opportunity to say something that we might not have covered.
Well, I just basically would like to say I thank God for people like you, Diana Clemens,
Thank you.
a number of supporters and sponsors in Kansas City who still believe in the vision. Angela Beverly, a number of other individuals, Irene Byers, and a lot of people that have supported me even after leaving Kansas City, that are still begging me to come back to Kansas City to do the Christmas party, as well as to offer some type of educational services. Because from what I'm hearing is nobody has reproduced what we were doing on the Kansas side to the magnitude that we were working to achieve at that time. So this is my way of being able to reach back to my homeland, my hometown, and to be able to continue to offer services to children in need right there.
Well, we cannot thank you enough. And please anticipate that we will be calling on you to become one of our guests again.
Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure, and you have made my day.
Well, you have made my day, our day, and a shout out to my fellow board of directors members. And I'll tell you what, please, very quickly, contact information last time.
Once again, you can contact me at 770-572-8995. You can email me at takeoverlearning@gmail.com. You can go to our website at www.iamsojourner.org, or basically those are the ways. Or you can send correspondence to 4959 Great Meadows Road, Latonia, Georgia 30038, and you can also use PayPal if you would like to make a donation or sponsor a child.
That is Sojourner Truth Observational Study Hometel LLC, Lillian Batey. Thank you so very much. God bless you.
You too, and have a blessed rest of the day.
Thank you. This is Wave Your Grades. We are on KUAW.org in Kansas City, Missouri, emanating from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. We will have an opportunity now to prepare to close the program and to thank all of those who have been listening. Please continue not only to listen, but please understand that this is a peculiar circumstance where we are involved in a pandemic. Schools are not operating as traditional. So as you would anticipate, all four of you who generally listen to the program, that we would have in studio students and veterans addressing each other, the peculiarity of the circumstance demands that we observe the science, observe the pandemic, and there are only 2 or 3, perhaps 4 at the most, in the studio at a time. So we look forward to having our regular student veteran presence, hopefully sometime soon, but we want to take care that we lead by example and that we observe all the precautions necessary to address the pandemic. Now, as we prepare to end today's program, thanking Lillian Batey, thanking the board members, thanking all of those who are involved, we will get an opportunity, perhaps, DeQuay Wilson, our producer, announcer, co-host, and engineer, to have a simple sign-off and then play the theme song in its entirety for a change as we greet the end of this hour on this day. My name is Carl Boyd for Wave Your Grades. Here is your announcer and mine, DeQuay Wilson.
Thank you so very much, Kansas City, for joining us today. Thank you to our very special guest for joining us today. Hope everyone has a great day and be prepared to vote no matter what.
Ooh, thank you very much. And I think that we'll just go ahead and end it out in our traditional way.
All right, and then to close with today's Wave Your Grades program, our host will recite one of his daily, year-round morning motivational messages for students in honor of our troops. As always, I am DeQuay Wilson. Here is Carl Boyd.
To students across the USA, your Stoots for Boots, a message for this day, August 22nd. Saying thank you to troops with your words is a statement they gladly accept when you speak. Showing thank you to troops with your grades is a moment when troop pride soars to its peak. I'm going to repeat that. I forgot to thank Lillian Batey and teachers in Atlanta, Georgia, because as far as I know, they're the only ones who regularly offer our daily message every day of the week. And I should have thanked Lillian for that, because she is the one who transfers those messages to her constituent base in Atlanta, Georgia. One more time, to students across the USA, your Stoots for Boots message for this day, August 22nd. Saying thank you to troops with your words is a statement they gladly accept when you speak. Showing thank you to troops with your grades is a moment when troop pride soars to its peak. My name is Carl Boyd for Wave Your Grades. Thanking you for listening, and gracious God and wonderful Wanda, I'm on my way home.